Hi, I'm Zoe Blade and I make electronic music. Often I think about what I would like other musicians to do. Musicians I listen to a lot. I listen to the music and I think, wow, it'd be really cool to work out how this works, how they made it. So I read the interviews and they never actually say how they make the music itself, so I thought I'd do the same thing myself. I've been very inspired lately by watching Jamie Mansell's videos. He's this guy all the way up in the mountains who's making a giant robot and he's documenting the whole thing in video form. So I thought, it's the least I could do to do the same kind of thing in the realm of music making and just, explain the creative process a bit. So quite a few people ask me, what it is I use to make the music. I think the implication is that I'm using some kind of vast array of kind of complicated devices, and that must be why it sounds so good, because it's like, the really expensive tools I use. That's really not the case. All I use is Reason and Record. The last album in particular, Music from Mars, was entirely written in Reason and Record. So there's absolutely no reason that you can't make good music with fairly cheap household software, because these days what you can just walk into a shop and buy in one or two little boxes is about equivalent to, say, in the 80s or 90s, many thousands of pounds worth of studio gear. So it really doesn't matter which tools you use to get the job done. What matters is that you're always learning and always pushing yourself further, and always learning new techniques, figuring out new ways of doing stuff, working out how to do really cool things with what you've already got. So when I first try to make a track, I may just muck around with, say, an interesting bass line or an interesting drum beat, or muck around in a certain key on my keyboard and make a nice melody, or sometimes I just got a new sample CD and I found a nice sound I like, or a nice patch or something, and I'm just trying to do something pretty sounding with it. Sometimes I just listen to an existing song I like by someone else and I try and make something a bit similar in terms of the look and feel of it, and by the time I've actually finished it though, it'll be completely different sounding, because it just kind of took on a life of its own, and I followed it somewhere quite different to the original song it was originally meant to be similar to. So by the end of it, it really wasn't. So music, like pretty much any kind of art form or entertainment form, is a collection of ideas. A good way of seeing an example of this is if you go to somewhere like TV Tropes, and you can see how you take a bunch of different, almost cliches if they're used badly, but a bunch of different ideas if they're used well. And there aren't really that many original ideas, so you can throw in one or two per story or per album, but usually you're just rehashing old ideas in original combinations. So although no single ingredient is new, the way a spice won't be new and tomatoes aren't new, the actual combination of ingredients itself is new as a whole. Yeah, don't try and make something that's entirely original, unless it's your thing and you want to, great, but usually that makes it kind of a bit hard for people to listen to, esoteric and unpalatable. Usually what I find works best is if you mostly have things that people are familiar with and then just tweak one or two parts of it. For example, when the synthesizer first came out, in terms of musicians could just walk into not exactly a shop and buy one, but they could buy one from, say, Bob Moog or Don Buckler or someone. Wendy Carlos played classical music on her synthesizer. She also made her own original music, but people didn't really want to listen to original music on an original set of sounds. So first of all, she had to slowly introduce them to it, using some well-known existing classical music, from by Bach and Beethoven and so on. And only then, once people were comfortable with that, does she kind of start sending albums where she's got her own original music. And similarly, if you've got an original idea, it's probably best to start off with by kind of blending it in with some existing ideas. So there's one or two new, interesting, exciting things, but mostly it's stuff that people are familiar with, and it kind of gently eases them into it. At least that's the philosophy I usually try and go by, and that may seem too pedestrian for some people. Maybe you want to be cutting edge and have music that some people find hard to listen to, but it's more rewarding. If that's your thing, great, but this is what works for me. If you make electronic music, it's a pretty good indicator that you probably like listening to music. You know, if you're anything like me, you probably have hundreds and hundreds of CDs or records or MP3s or whatever. So what I want you to do is listen to the music that you already have, but instead of just listening for fun, like, yeah, this is a good track, instead of that, you should actually sit down and listen to it. Use rewind an awful lot, keep on skipping back to where the section began. Try and analyse it, try and work out what's happening at any given stage. You know, at this point a new instrument's introduced, at this point the existing instrument changes the notes it's playing, but then it repeats it for a few more bars. And if you really dissect and analyse a track, you can actually find out exactly how it works. Ideally, you want to try and get the master tracks. Trent Reznor is great for releasing his multi-tracks, for instance, and you can actually you know, mute and solo individual channels, and you can hear exactly how they work. But even when you can't, for a lot of music, if you just listen to it with a really keen ear, you can usually work out roughly how it's made and put together, and extrapolate from that what might have gone through the artist's mind. I don't think it really matters that much how music is made so much as how it could be made and how you could go about doing it yourself. Obviously you don't need to do it in exactly the same way the original artist did, but if you can get into the kind of mindset where you can do equivalent things, then you know you're going to make good music then. So it really doesn't matter which equipment you're using. What matters is that you're trying out new things. Always push your creativity and knowledge. Leave your comfort zone. Just, you know, go and be awesome. But yeah, I'm sure you got lots of questions and advice that you want to give each other and me. So, you know, by all means, just ask me anything and I'll try and help out. And, you know, I want to do my bit for the music making community. You know, it's not a zero-sum game, it's a plus-sum game. As many people can be making music at the same time and, you know, as you like, is, you know, you can have everyone in the world making music, and it doesn't diminish from what I'm doing that other people are doing the same thing. I think it's silly to try and you know, not tell people how it is you're doing the things you're doing because you don't want anyone copying you. You know, no one's going to copy you and come up with the exact same thing. They're going to put their own original spin on it, their own original twist, and as a result of that, you know, I'm not scared of giving away my secrets because that just means there's going to be more awesome, cool music I'm going to want to listen to. So that's great, you know, we should all have music for everyone else. Let's all make music for each other.